Hey, what's up, Hoop fam? Hope y'all are enjoying your day so far. It is the morning after show with Fran Harris, and I made a promise that I was going to wear the swag of the team that won the WNBA championship. So I'm repping my bandanas. I have 100 bandanas. I'm a bandana girl. I love wearing bandanas, but I'm also repping the winning team's t-shirt. So I had my New York Liberty ready to go. I had my teal bandana ready to go, but the Aces won. So let's jump into this morning after show. What a game. Listen, this has been one of the best series that I can remember in recent history. Like legit, it's been interesting to watch this and then to see it come down like this. I'm not going to lie. I did not know what was going to happen with the Aces without Chelsea Gray and without Kiah Stokes. I did not know what was going to happen. Can you play without players that have been in your regime forever? Absolutely. In my basketball career at Texas, we lost the equivalent of our Asia when I was a sophomore. Annette Smith went out with an ACL. We had eight players on our team that year. Nobody thought we were going to be able to get as far as we did, and we did. So I understand making the adjustment of playing without someone. But honestly, low key, when I saw that Chelsea Gray was not going to be playing, it was like the most synonymous and analogous, I should say, comparison I can make is if the Houston Comets were playing without Cynthia Cooper. That's personally the first analogy that came up to my mind. Like, we could do it, but we don't know how it's going to turn out, because she was such an important part of what we did. So you guys can probably identify with that, whether it's in your job or at home and in your family. Like, some things just don't seem like they can work if certain pieces are not there. We know that life goes on. We know that if Cynthia had gotten hurt, we would have had to keep going. We know that. But we also know that it's a very different outcome if you have all your pieces, all your chess pieces on the board. And the Aces were without their queen. And I'm like, this is going to be a real interesting game, watching the Aces try to take down New York in their building. And let's face it, even to Asia's credit, in the press conference, she said, we were all a little bubble gutsy. We were all a little nervous. Of course you are. You're playing for the WNBA championship. So I appreciate that transparency from Asia. I appreciate the humanity and the vulnerability that she continues to show, even as she ascends to the highest of her sport. But let's talk about this game last night. I don't have any notes. I'll have no fancy slides for you today, because I'm just going to go off the dome and do what I do and do what I've been doing for 20 years. And that's talk about basketball in the way that only I know, a very intimate way, from a scholar standpoint, but also from a player who's played for 20 plus years. So let's talk about going into the game, what we thought was going to happen. I believed that if New York could come in and not feel the pressure of playing in the survival game, because that's what it was. You're playing to advance. You're trying to survive and advance. So for me, all the pressure was on New York. I said that in my preview. They still had to beat the WNBA champion, defending WNBA champion, the Las Vegas Aces. So there was no pressure per se on Las Vegas. They were going to get at least one more game out of this, right? So the pressure really was on the New York Liberty to come out and play very well. And the challenge for them, as I said in my preview, was for them to play loose. It's hard to tell people to play like they have nothing to lose, because if you don't win this game, you're not going farther. You're not going further. You're not going to the next round. You're not going to the next, whatever that next piece is. And so there was pressure on New York. And if you think about it, let's be respectful of what it takes to get to this point in a season as a professional sports team. It takes a lot to get to this place. And then when you get here, the stakes are very different. And so for New York, hadn't been in this game, for 20 years? Forgive the math, but y'all have heard the story. New York had not gotten to a WNBA championship game, let's just say, in at least a decade. And I think it was longer. I don't have my notes in front of me or my computer in front of me, but it was a long time. And so you've got the pressure of that. Some people can say, no pressure. What you got to lose? You're not supposed to beat the Aces. That's for people who've never played for something, who think that. There is absolutely pressure. You definitely feel pressure. You definitely feel like we need to get this. And as a result, I don't think New York responded to that pressure very well. Jonquel Jones, who had played extremely well heading into this game 4, was kind of non-existent yesterday. Stewie struggled yesterday. Ionescu struggled yesterday. It wasn't that they weren't there. It was that they had not shown up the way they had shown up in previous big games. And as we all know, if you play sports, it don't matter what you've done before. It only matters what you're doing in that moment. And in that moment, the New York Liberty were not very good. They were not very good. Nobody was really good. One of the things I said in the preview video was that we needed 5 solid performances because I knew that's what it was going to take to beat the Aces. It wasn't 2 performances that was not going to be good enough. They needed 5 solid performances. Wouldn't have mattered who it came from, but they needed 5 solid performances to even have a chance to beat the Aces. Now you say, how could I say that in my preview show, even if Chelsea Gray weren't in the lineup? Because when you're playing a champion, and let me just, for those of y'all who are new to me, when you're playing a champion, I played on a 34-0 national championship team. Let me go back even farther than that. I played on a 40-0 high school championship team in Dallas at the Dallas South Oak Cliff High School, coached by Coach Gary Blair, Hall of Famer, NCAA title coach for the Aggies in 2011. I played on a 40-0 championship team in high school. People were shaking in their sneakers when they played South Oak Cliff girls basketball. There's a point I'm making. Then I played on a 34-0 NCAA championship team with the University of Texas. People were shaking in their sneakers when they played Texas. Then I played on the WNBA championship with the Houston Comets. And later in that season, people were shaking in their sneakers to play the Houston Comets. So I bring that up because when I think about the Aces, even without Chelsea Gray, there are people who, their teams that when they face the Aces, they know it's about to be a run. It's about to be, you either going to get, it may start out close, but eventually you're going to get the brakes beaten off of you if you're playing the Aces. That's the probability of what's going to happen in that game. And so even though they were without their queen, Chelsea Gray, they still are the Aces. They may be a different version of the Aces, but they were still the Aces. And when you bring championship swag and you bring championship mystique and you bring championship power and personality and presence to an arena, even without your queen, even without some critical pieces, you're still who you are. And people still respect that. They may say, we're not going to play the front of the jersey. We're not playing this. They got to lace up their sneakers the same way we lace up. All that BS. But still, you are who you are. When you bring that championship to the gym, it matters. And so even though by their own admission, they were nervous, the Aces, even by her own admission, she had bubble guts. Asia Wilson and the rest of her team talked about feeling that without Chelsea, they had to do something a little extra, even though they still bring a certain championship presence to the game. It is unmistakable, absolutely unmistakable. So that was New York. The Aces came in feeling like they needed to close it out, understanding that New York was they anticipated New York giving them everything they could in that game to take it to a game 5. So both teams from a mental and spiritual standpoint had different things going on. New York had we haven't been here in a while. And even though they may not have said those words, you cannot undo the story of your team. The story of your team is that y'all ain't been here in a minute. The story of your team is y'all got to win this game to get to the last game. That's the story. You can't undo that. You may not want to verbalize that, but you can't undo that. You bring all of that to the stage. All of that came into the gym with the New York Liberty yesterday. And it weighs on you. It weighs on you. Anybody who says that it doesn't or that it shouldn't have has never played for anything. You've never played for anything. Low key, you ain't done nothing. All right. So that came with it. I get it. Been in the situation to play for something and then you didn't quite get there. It's very heavy. But a part of the reason you become a professional athlete and the things that you experience as a professional athlete is so that you can overcome those areas. You can overcome those circumstances. And so New York will be better next year because of this year. I know y'all don't want to hear that, my Liberty fans. it was hard for me to watch that game because I'm sitting there like every athlete who's watching this game right now has been in that situation. Been in the situation where it appears that you have all the pieces to be able to win this game. But that mental piece is in your way. The fact that you haven't done it in a while is in your way. The fact that you got to have this game is in your way. It's a real thing, y'all. So I'm gonna give the New York Liberty their flowers. And I feel a piece of my heart felt for them as I watched them yesterday, because I have been in that situation. Teams I've been on have been in that situation. Every real true athlete has been in that situation. So it's a progression. Would it have been cool if the New York Liberty could have arisen from the pressure that they were feeling to put in some performances that they needed to beat the Aces? It would have been very cool. I honestly thought that was going to happen right up until the third quarter. I was like, New York about to do this. New York is about to do this. We're going to game 5. I'm making my travel arrangements. I'm getting ready to go back to Vegas for game 5 because I'm thinking if New York continues to play the way they're playing in the first 2 quarters, oh yeah, we're going to a game 5. And then the third quarter came. So let's shoot on over to the Aces. The third quarter kicked in. And A'ja Wilson said, shoot, you know what? If I don't have to play a game 5, I don't want to play a game 5. A'ja Wilson took her game to the next level. And what I thought was really cool, I did notice how much A'ja had complained to the officials in previous games. But I noticed in the game 4 yesterday, she was doing less of this with the officials. And I didn't learn until after the game that apparently she and Dawn Staley had made an agreement that Dawn was going to do all her trash talking to the official so that A'ja could focus on her performance in game 4. Let that sink in. Let that sink in just for a second. Her college coach, the great Dawn Staley, said, I got you on the officials. Stop getting distracted by the officials. Focus on your game. I got the stripe, folks. I got the zebras. Super dope story. Super dope story. So A'ja, and I can see in Asia's face laughing at it, because I'm like, A'ja is working very hard to stay composed and stay present, and to say her energies were focused on, let me be in this moment. I'm not getting into it with the players. I'm not going to get distracted with the officials. I'm not going to let the fans take me out. Focus on one single solitary task. Be amazing in this moment. And A'ja took off. Watching that performance was truly a spiritual experience for me. Seriously, watching a player decide to be great by ridding herself of all the other distractions that perhaps she had participated in other games. But in this particular moment, she was not going to do that. And in that moment, when you could see that in A'ja's eyes, you could see her relying on her teammates. You could see her being very deliberate about what she wanted to do and deliver in the game. The game, literally, she literally ascended above that game. If you go back and watch this game, you will see the moment when A'ja Wilson transcends that basketball game. She's making shots I've never seen her make. And we've seen A'ja make some amazing shots. The degree of difficulty, the degree of physicality, the way she played in the third quarter was literally otherworldly. Go back and watch it. Watch the highlights. A'ja transcended the game. And once she was able to raise her game, as they say it with the Las Vegas Aces on all their posts, raise the stakes. She was able to raise the stakes and meet the stakes and exceed the stakes that were present in that third quarter. Her teammates came right up with her. And when they listen, I'm preaching now, baby. Listen, when they transcended the physical aspect of the game, it was over. In that moment, you could see that New York was not going to be able to beat them. Because what happened in that moment is that A'ja Wilson, whatever happened spiritually, mentally, emotionally, that enabled them to rise above the mere, menial parts of a physical basketball game. And you guys have heard me talk about that in my videos before. Like, this game is, yes, it's a physical, there's a physical aspect of it. But what I said in my preview show yesterday was that the team that wins a mental game is going to win. And the Aces won the mental game. Pressure on them? Absolutely. Pressure on them because everybody thinks, except for Liberty fans, that the Aces should have swept the Liberty. Pressure on them because it's a back-to-back opportunity. Pressure on them because they get to make history in history. Pressure on them because they don't have Chelsea. Pressure on them because everybody's saying, well, if y'all so good, y'all should be able to win without Chelsea if you're that good. Pressure on them because they haven't used their bench a whole lot this year. Pressure on them because it's time for their bench to show what they've shown in practice. Pressure on them because, honestly, you never know how people are going to perform. So these people on the bench who've been doing all this amazing culture stuff, you never know how they're going to perform. You've depended on them. You're hoping they show up. That's why they get paid, but you really don't know. So flowers to the Las Vegas Aces for understanding the importance of the mental, spiritual, emotional aspect of the game. And that was the currency and the current, like an ocean's current, that really took them to the next level in the third quarter. And there was no looking back. Even though it got close, even though it could have gone a very different way at the end, the Las Vegas Aces did what championship teams do. They leveraged every single piece of the puzzle. The people on the bench, their coaches, their trainers, the people in the stands who were kind of a part of the movement and the motion to get them to that next level. They leveraged every single thing they had in their arsenal to beat the New York Liberty, and they needed it. That building, that place was amazing. The fans, 17,000 plus, celebrities in the place, great coach. They needed everything they brought to that arena to beat the Liberty. Absolutely everything. But make no mistake about it. The Aces won because they have been there. The Aces won because they have been in the trenches all season, right? Dealing with a lot of the media, a lot of the naysayers. But more importantly, they've been in the trenches with each other. And even though the world didn't necessarily believe they had what it took, everybody's talking about the bench, how short the bench was. I need to do a whole video just on the bench. Seriously. This is going to be a long video right here. Like, when I'm looking at the game yesterday, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but I can't remember the tall player from Australia who started the game. Like, I was low-key looking at some of those shots like, don't shoot another shot. Do not shoot another shot. But that's why she was in the game. What I loved about her was that she never forgot who she was. She's like, I may be riding the bench and riding the pine with the Aces, but in Australia, baby, mate, I'm a baller. Like, I'm a dog in Australia. And she walked onto the court like that. And I was like, wait a minute. First of all, I was like, who is this? That's what I'm talking about. The Aces transcended that game. That player walked out there like she had been a starter all season. Sydney Colson came to the game like she had been playing 20 minutes a game. Seriously. That's why the Aces won. Because the people who are on that bench have already been made to feel like they belong on that team. Because those people who are on that bench have been made to feel, based on the culture, that you are important to this team. And unless you've done that, there's no way those people come into the game and play the way they played. Absolutely no way. So shout out to Becky Hammond and her staff for creating a culture where people feel valued and important and needed. That is the only way those bench players could elevate the performance that the Aces put in yesterday. That's the only way that's going to happen. So we got a new WNBA champion. It's a WNBA back-to-back, the first back-to-back we've had since, I think, 2002 when the Los Angeles Sparks did it, 2001, 2002. 2023 WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces. This ain't the last video I'm going to do, but this was the conceptual video that I wanted to do for my morning after show to say congratulations to the Aces. Congratulations to the Liberty on a fine season, an amazing season. You'll be back next year. It's hard to put it back together, but you'll be back next year with the strong run. And then we got to see what the Aces are going to do. But right now, everybody congratulate the Aces. I'm repping their t-shirt and I'm repping their colors with the bandana. Y'all have a great day. More videos to come. Peace.